today we have a really special guest with us. It's an absolute honor to introduce Mr. Rohit Talwar, sir, a global futurist, award-winning keynote speaker, author, and the CEO of Fast Future.
So, sir, how is AI transforming the education sector today, and what changes do you anticipate in coming years?
If we follow the model of the current education system in most places in the world, we're still basing it on the factory model where we were treating humans like units of production. So we need to change the model.
Welcome everyone to today's exciting podcast session on YAPASSIO. So today we have a really special guest with us. It's an absolute honor to introduce Mr. Rohit Talwar, sir, a global futurist, award-winning keynote speaker, author, and the CEO of Fast Future. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us, sir.
We are really grateful.
My pleasure.
Sir, we are really grateful to have you here in a very interesting podcast come discussion session on a very interesting topic, which is AI versus human.
And sir, like you are the CEO of Fast Future. So first thing we want to ask you is that how was your journey? I mean, how have you come so far in this industry?
Well, I don't know how you judge so far, but how I got to this position was that I guess from a child, I was always curious about new technologies. My friends always had the latest toys and we didn't have much money. So I was always curious about that. And then just grew up always interested in not just what was next, but what might happen after that. And I'm not sure where that came from, but then I did more technological subjects through school and electronics and computer science at university, and then went into artificial intelligence research. And so that really carried on that theme, and then did an MBA, went into consulting. The piece of consulting that most interested me was strategy, and the part of that most excited me was the front end of strategy, where you're thinking about the future. And what I discovered was that a lot of companies didn't really have a solid approach for looking at the future. They just hoped and assumed it would be like the past and the present. And then I discovered this whole field called future studies and foresight. And I really embraced that. And that felt like I'd come home. And then through speaking, consulting and research, I've really grown that practice internationally.
Yes.
That's really very interesting and inspiring, sir.
Yes, sir.
So as you said, you were very curious about the technological tools and advancements. So we are also engineering students and we are very interested in AI. In fact, our field is also artificial intelligence. So I want to know that what are some of the key technological advancements driven by AI that we can expect in the near future?
Well, the first thing I would say is that as engineers in AI, I think you should be spending at least 50% of your time thinking about humans, human behavior, and the behavior of organizations. AI isn't going to change organizations. Humans making good choices about how to use AI is what will change organizations. But I think there are a few key things coming. The first is AI technology itself. Those who are paying attention are having their minds blown every single day by new announcements, particularly around generative AI. So whether it's more reasoning capabilities, better abilities to avoid the hallucinations of presenting false information, better integration of different AI tools so you can create a workflow that says, let's start with an idea, turn that into a marketing brief, create the marketing text, generate the imagery, a radio ad, a video, a website, and a social media campaign,
Yes.
all from one initial prompt. I think that's very powerful. And again, it's those in the know who are using it, but there's the bulk of society haven't really got their heads around it. So that's one piece. And we really need to understand what's happening now just to get going. The second is the direction of travel. So we're seeing a lot of other AI applications, or we might call them more likely machine learning applications. where we're showing organizations or helping organizations learn how to use data in smarter and smarter ways, whether it's to look at customer behaviors to identify new segments, to look at patterns of fraudulent transactions or transactions to spot fraud, or to look at markets and start to read from social media, customer behavior, competitor behavior, start to identify new product opportunities. So that's all coming through now. Natural language processing, instantaneous translation. We're seeing all of these things. And then all the body monitoring technologies that are allowing us to take signals, whether it's oxygen flow, heart rate, or brainwave patterns, and start to build a bigger and deeper picture of us as humans. Then where we're going next is the ultimate goal is to get to what's called artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence, where AGI is about creating technologies that are as smart as humans in things like reasoning, planning, language skills. They won't necessarily display consciousness, and they probably won't be thinking for themselves in the way that you and I would describe it. They'll still be mimicking it. And then the stage on from there might be to get to artificial superintelligence that is smarter than us. And we don't really know what that means, but it might start inventing new fields of science, new models of economy, new ways of tackling global problems, whether it's hunger, conflict, environmental pressures. And at some point in that journey, we might actually see the software thinking for itself as a human might think for themselves. So those are the broad directions of travel. And then there's the kind of embedding of AI into our lives. We already have it in our phones and our devices, but we'll see it more and more in our TV sets, in our Hoovers, in our furniture, in our windows, as everything starts to have sensors embedded in it that can connect to local devices that give us incredible intelligence by building up patterns of information about us and our behaviors and getting more and more predictive about what we're likely to do next in response to certain circumstances.
Thank you, sir. We actually got whatever you said. And my next part is like, we are from YAPASSIO, and YAPASSIO is completely leaned towards secondary students. So, sir, how is AI transforming the education sector today, and what changes do you anticipate in coming years?
Well, it's creating a big divide right now between those who are passionately against generative AI and students using AI, and they turn out all the usual arguments about dumbing down education, copying, plagiarism, preventing people from thinking for themselves. And then those at the other end of the spectrum who are saying, no, this is a power tool to transform the way we educate and to give access to the best quality education to everyone on the planet, whether or not they have a human teacher. For me, that's the more interesting end of the spectrum to look at, is how do we harness this technology? So, for example, actually saying to students when we're asking them to write an essay, please start by using a generative AI tool to do the research.
Yes, sir.
And compile that research and include that in your final submission. But then here are some questions we want you to answer using that research, and in-depth and probing questions that really require the student to think. But what we've done is save them time on the research, but more importantly, got them to do more comprehensive and wide-ranging research so we can enhance their understanding and their skills and then and ability to gather information. And what we're really testing is their ability to collate, interpret, draw conclusions, project from that information. And then obviously that requires good tools on the part of the educators to assess everything that's submitted, to identify whether the student is submitting anything that is a straight cut and paste from generative AI. And the tools for that are getting better and better. I'm not going to name any because by the time, this podcast is a week old, there'll be better ones. But we can see that opportunity. It also allows us to start to think about all of the different ways in which people learn and start to tailor that information. So if I know that a student is a better learner through video
Yes.
than the spoken voice or through reading, now with generative AI, I can take whatever that content is. So I can take the page you're reading and almost instantaneously generate a video that shares that information with you in a more compelling way. Equally, if the teacher is speaking and maybe they're speaking a bit too fast, then I can have that text, the voice to text in front of me, and I can read what they're saying, but also I can go back afterwards and query it. And very soon we'll have that ability to take the day's learning, summarize it for you, go back over the pieces that you don't fully understand, and have an infinitely patient teacher. So if I ask my teacher the same question twice, they might be the same emotionally. If I ask it a third time, I'll see some frustration. If I ask them a 10th time, they'll want to throw me out of their class. But with AI supporting me, it will be as tolerant and as supportive on the 1000th occasion as it was on the first when I asked the same question. So I think we can use this in very different ways and help adapt to different students' learning styles and support them and really broaden their understanding, deepen their understanding of the content, and really focus on their critical thinking skills to make sure they're understanding and interpreting the content, not just serving it back up.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you mentioned about artificial superintelligence. So, sir, till when we can achieve it, and are there any threats in the society if ASI is achieved?
Right, so let's break that into two parts. Around the world, there's a big conversation going on now about artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence. Firstly, how do we define it? Secondly, when will it come? Thirdly, what will its impacts be? Fourthly, how do we control against or monitor against bad uses of it? And how do we make sure it's ethical and responsible? Different people are already claiming that they have artificial general intelligence in their software, or they'll be there very soon. We don't know, we'll see. And the community will inevitably have a big argument about whether each piece of software is AGI. There is a massive commercial imperative to be the first to AGI. When OpenAI launched ChatGPT in November 2022, they caught all of the big tech players by surprise. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, they were all taken by surprise. And so they all rushed to bring out their generative AI solutions. All of those companies don't want to be fooled again. And what we saw the impact. Microsoft took a $10 billion stake in OpenAI, the company who created ChatGPT. And we saw that deliver over a 50% increase, in fact, a 180% increase in their share price. We've seen NVIDIA, the hardware providers, see their share price increase over that period by over 800%. So the commercial imperative is there, and everyone is racing to have something they will call Gen AI or artificial general intelligence. Going on to artificial superintelligence, that's really an unknown right now, because neither AGI or ASI will come just from extending the current generative AI models, or it's very unlikely. We're going to need a lot of other algorithms in that mix. Lots of people are working on them, but we're not sure how quickly we'll get there. I would say within 2 years, we will have software that many parts of what it does look like AGI. And I think in 5 years, we could have people claiming ASI for their products. And for most people, it will be hard to tell whether it is or not. Right now, I would say the Gen AI models like ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok and Claude and all these others and Perplexity, I would say that in many cases, they're already smarter than most people I know. They can produce information faster, they can summarize faster, they can create faster. So in many respects, they're already smarter than humans. But to be truly as smart or smarter, it will take a few more years. And there'll be a lot of false claims being made. But we have to remember that AI is becoming so central to global economies. You've seen that Microsoft now, with its $3 trillion valuation, and NVIDIA, just to give you a sense of that, that is more than the valuation of the top 100 companies in the UK, and it's more than the gross domestic product, the size of most economies around the world. So we can see the power that's being amassed here. We can see that there's a commercial imperative to be first to market, and we can see that that will put pressure on those companies to cut corners on ethics, on responsibility, on bias, on all sorts of features. And we might see a social pushback against that. We might see people saying, actually, we don't want to go that far. I don't want the technology to penetrate my life in this way. I don't want the surveillance. I don't want the risk that the information is misinterpreted, and I don't want the risk of being fed false information. I also don't want the risk that governments start making decisions using technology that I can't challenge. If the machine says this is your tax that you owe, or the machine says no, you're guilty of this crime, or the machine says you can't have a residence permit or whatever. And our ability to challenge those things is going to be at stake here. And commercial factors might prevent us from really getting the best out of AI to serve humanity.
So,
Yes,
sir, even I have one question. You mentioned that children learn faster and better with videos rather than speech. So, sir, do you think that...
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. What I said was we have multiple learning styles.
Yes, sir.
And some children might learn better from text, some might learn from physical experiences, some might learn from video. So we mustn't get confused that everyone should just be watching TikTok.
Obviously, sir. So, for this, sir, do you think AI will replace human jobs?
It already is. But then we have to remember that globally, about 20% of jobs disappear every year. They get replaced by technology or new approaches. So that's not new. But what we're seeing is that at the creative end, I maybe don't need as many creatives because AI is doing more of the work. At the professional end, maybe AI is starting to do more work of accountants, consultants, lawyers, architects. And then at the routine level, the operational level, our invoice processing people, our customer service people, AI can do more of those roles. So it will have a deeper and deeper impact. We'll need less people. But then we'll also, so one thing there is AI is allowing us to do existing tasks in new and more effective ways. But the other thing is that AI is allowing us to do new things. So it's creating new businesses, whole new opportunities like prompt engineering, AI solutions development, new materials creation using AI, particularly in science and technology-based sectors. We'll see a lot of new businesses coming through that make use of AI. And so they will create new jobs. The challenge will be that those new jobs will be requiring much higher levels of knowledge, skill, and expertise. And so that puts a pressure on the education system to be developing more rounded people who have a deeper level of understanding of the technologies, but also more human skills around problem solving, around creativity, around human communication. And those aren't valued enough today. But those will be the skills that differentiate us. It's okay turning out 1 million, 2 million students who can program and know how to do basic machine learning. But effectively, they're all in the same box. The ones who are really going to make a big impact are stepping out of the box. They have those other skills. They have those broader perspectives. They'll be the entrepreneurs. They'll be the true innovators. They'll be the people who spot the gaps in the market to create new solutions. They'll be the people who stand back and say, actually, through technology, we've created a worse customer experience. Anyone who calls a call center knows what that's like. Anyone who has to deal with a chatbot today knows what that's like. So it'll be the people who can stand out of the box and see the bigger picture and see things differently will be the true value creators. The people who are just AI technicians, AI programmers, for a little while they'll do very well, and they might earn a higher level of income, but very quickly they'll become a commodity because AI will replace them. And so I would say, that's why I say at least 50% of what you should be being taught are the human skills, the problem solving skills, the collaboration skills, and the conflict resolution skills that will make you a higher value employee or an innovator or an entrepreneur in the future.
Yeah, sir. As you said that AI.
Stop calling me sir. Please stop calling me sir. I know it's polite for you, but for me it's a weird term. It's a term I would have used to talk to my teachers back in high school.
So you are like a teacher to us.
As a guide.
Practice not using sir.
Okay.
So you said that AI can be used.
Nishita, don't say so.
One black mark. Come on, carry on. All right.
Okay.
Please just carry on. Whatever words come out of your mouth, that's fine.
You said that AI can be used like as a adaptive learning tool in education also, like as the students like see videos and that they can help also students in learning those things. But like as Harshita said that AI is like replacing human jobs. There's a lot of debate over this topic, and like in India also in education sector, like there's the first AI robot teacher named Iris in Kerala. So, like, what is your perspective on this issue? Like, in technological field also, you said that people need to be more skilled and qualified now to get jobs in front of AI. So, like, how can this be, like, it can be remain aligned between human needs and that AI and the abilities?
Right. So the challenge is to make sure we're doing it for the right reasons. What is our why for creating AI solutions in education? I don't know Iris, but my first question is, why was that created? Was it to create a more adaptive and student-centered learning experience? Or was it to create a cheaper solution? And who was it designed around? Was it designed around students with different learning abilities and a deep educational understanding of how to tailor learning to get the best out of each student? Because some students, the technical content is quite a small part. It's the confidence to dig deep, to learn, to trust themselves, to raise their hand, to ask questions. So if we understand different learning styles, if we understand the different needs of people who might have learning difficulties or be faster or slower in taking in information, if we've designed a genuine student-centered experience, then that's going to be fantastic. If we've designed a sort of robotic replacement for a teacher that doesn't have those sensitivities, then we're making it worse. If we've designed the solution that best fits the way the developer thinks it should work, we're kind of guaranteeing it will fail. We already have that with software in every sector. The reason that so little of the functionality of software that's developed gets used is that it's designed not for the end user, it's designed for the person who developed it. And therefore, it's hard for them to use, it's hard for them to learn new functions. It doesn't support people in the way they work. And that's also why so many software applications fail completely. We always focus on the things that come to market. But for every chat GPT, there are tens of thousands of Gen AI software tools that failed and that are failing all the time. And we have to focus on those a little bit and say, why are they failing? And generally, it's because they've got a poor user experience. If you look at the most commonly used piece of software or type of software on the planet, it's an internet browser. And that has an interface that my oldest living relative could use without any tuition. So we have to think about what are the interfaces to these tools, how are they designed, what are the models of learning around which they're being built, and how do they take account of the needs of different students. I was doing some reading yesterday for totally different subjects, but what I discovered was there are almost potentially 175 different types of bias, conscious and unconscious. No human could ever design course materials and a delivery approach that takes account of all 175. But if we've trained the software to understand those things and it can find those examples by searching, then it can make sure it's addressing all those forms of bias when it communicates with the student. And it can be truly adaptive in saying, okay, I've tried this. I can tell from your microfacial expressions. I can tell from measuring, heat sensors, measuring the temperature in your body, your heart wave, your pattern of brain waves, the amount your body is moving and you're fidgeting. I'm comparing that with a database of that kind of information. So I can tell that this information isn't landing with you. What I'm teaching you isn't landing. And therefore I can adapt to style. I can try different things because the job of the software is not to get you through the course. The job of the software is to help you learn and help advance your capabilities and help maximize you as an individual. So if we have that as a motivation, if we have as the motivation helping to create fully expressed humans with all their potential available to them, then we're going to do really well. If we follow the model of the current education system in most places in the world, we're still basing it on the factory model of the 1800s and 1900s, where we were treating humans like units of production. And we set our schools up in the same way, and as factories so that we could control. And we set our factories up in the same way as prisons were set up so we could control. So we need to change the model. We need to completely rethink this. And so how this starts to impact society, education, becomes much more of a sociological, an anthropological conversation than just a pure technological one.
Okay.
Human behavior is central to the success or failure of AI.
Right.
And human understanding is central to the adaptation of human behavior.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And
We need to adapt with all these things in the future also.
Absolutely.
Sorry?
Sir,
I didn't quite catch what you just said.
Anjita, can you please repeat that?
I said that we all need to adapt to the things in the future also, as it is a AI driven world now.
Absolutely, we have to.
It's not AI driven yet. AI is starting to appear.
In the
It's
near
maybe
future.
AI noise influenced, and we're being led to believe that it's all about AI. But if you ask your entire extended family, let's say 100 people, how many of them would say that their lives are now AI driven?
Yes.
Your aunts, your uncles, your distant cousins, How many of them really would say their lives are AI driven right now?
It's just emerging now. It's not
Yeah,
yet.
exactly. And the mistake we can make is using the sort of hype to believe that's reality.
Sir,
Um,
one thing I listen from most of the people is like the best use of AI can be made by learning prompt engineering. So, can you tell us something about prompt engineering?
um, yeah, so prompt engineering is a skill. And if you look at the best teachers, they do less talking, they ask more questions. And they try and bring the information out of the people they're talking to or out of the experts. The same is true of doctors. They ask good questions, they get more information out of patients. If you look at good lawyers, they ask great questions to get the truth or the data they need from their customers, their clients, or from people on the witness stand. Exactly the same is true of prompt engineering. Simply putting a statement in and saying, tell me X, or draw me a picture of Y, doesn't get the same response as if I say, I want to apply for a bank loan. Tell me all the information I need to give you to write me a good letter of application for the bank. And then I can, the tool will tell me what else it needs. And then I can say, right, now craft me a letter to the bank that covers that information. Then I can say, what else could I tell you to increase the empathy of the bank towards me? Or I can ask it, I want a picture of a room full of students enjoying a learning experience. What information do I need to give to an image generator, or what prompt would you write for an image generator tool to get me a great quality image? And then you'll see the tool do that. And then we have sort of, in the same way as we have engineering principles that say there are 6 features you need to have in a good design solution, there are many frameworks that now say, okay, for each stage of writing a prompt, you need to know the scope, you need to know the purpose, you need to know the characters, you need to know the requirement. And so you'll see different models that teach you how to break the problem down and define the different elements so you can give the richest possible set of requirements to the tool to give you back the most refined answer. And the tools can help you. They can help you write prompts. They can guide you. They can do the prompt writing for you. They can critique your prompts and say, actually, this is missing. So there's a really interesting skill set developing there. And then the best people, and remember, this is a field that only really started for most people back in November 2022. There have been generative AI tools before that, but really the world started to get interested with ChatGPT. But so this has only been around for 18 months, but already there are people developing a deep expertise in how to do prompt engineering, how to apply it for different tasks, how to integrate data, how to create multiple workflows. So learning from the best on how to write good prompts, how to refine them, how to get concise information, how to ensure more comprehensive answers. All of that requires skills that take time to acquire beyond the skills that we would normally have in just writing a search term into a search engine.
So we learned about all the good terms of AI, but what are the societal impacts of AI that we should be aware of? Like we know everything that we should do this, we should do that, but we should also be aware of some things from AI. Can
So this is both a technological issue and a societal one. and a philosophical one. So at the technological level, I think we do need to raise everyone's understanding of what these technologies are, how they're being used, how they can impact our lives, how they can help us. So if, simple example, if I'm the guy sat on a street corner, I've been making dosa on that street corner for the last 50 years, my grandfather did it for 50 years before me, then AI might help me order things better. It might help me get deliveries better because I can use tools to order just in time. Do I really want AI, to guide me on how to, spread the liquid on the grill? Do I really want it to tell me when to turn over, how much ingredient, how much potato to put inside? Probably not. I'd rather teach my children how to do that than use it. But in other applications, if I'm a garage mechanic and a new car that I've never seen before comes in, then I want AI to do all the diagnostics, tell me exactly what's wrong, order the spare parts, and then using a VR headset, I want it to guide me as to how to take the old part out and literally give me video that I'm following to put the new part in, to know how hard to tighten the bolts, how to test it, all of those things. So we can see that there are all sorts of applications, but without the understanding, there will be this fear for people that the technology is taking over their lives. And if they can't feed themselves, if their kids aren't being educated, then teaching them about AI is kind of a later step in the process. So it will have big societal impacts. I think the people who are paying less attention and not taking responsibility for their own learning could be the ones who suffer most. And we see that at the lowest level of earners, but we also see that at the managerial level and the professional level, where there's a lot of arrogance, that people believe that their old assumptions, their old experience, their old skill set, their old knowledge is enough to see them through in the future. And they will have some of the biggest shocks when AI starts to eat into their jobs or replace them, or demonstrate that actually we didn't really need them in the first place in those roles.
Yes, sir. As we got to know about the impacts of AI and all these things, but like as you have like an impressive career in this, like as a futurist also and a consultant. So can you share a defining moment in your career that significantly shaped your views on this field? And what advice would you like to give to the young students and professionals who would like to pursue this field?
So the first is, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that a futurist is some kind of guru with a crystal ball who knows exactly what's going to happen. And a lot of people with big egos have started to call themselves futurists. And they like to believe they can predict everything that will happen. Or they believe that AI is everything. But there's the rest of the future. Humans, the environment, politics, the economy. They all interact. But really the skill of a futurist is to identify the trends, the weaker signals of things that might change, the big forces and shifts happening in the world, and new ideas, and merge them together to create different possible scenarios so that we can then be better prepared for all sorts of different possibilities. And then to pick out the things that are most important to understand today. So I think for all of us, it's really important to understand these technologies that are coming, but also to understand how technology is changing money. And as money moves more digital, what we can do with it will change. And it's really important that everyone understands that when you go to buy that dosa, maybe someone knows exactly who you are and what you bought, even though you paid cash. So there's those understanding pieces. And then there's the sort of broader perspective on that says people also need to, as a futurist, we need to be thinking about how society deals with innovation and change and disruption. And that's much more emotional. People have very emotional reactions when they see pictures of the future. They might like them, they may hate them, or they might bounce between them. So I can tell the same story about an AI-powered future travel experience. Some people will love that. They'll love the idea of instantaneous translation everywhere. They'll love the idea of having the AI guide you on what to visit, giving you information, all of those kinds of things. Others may hate that. So we have to understand human behavior, and that's very important as a futurist, to understand human reactions. And then we have to understand that humans aren't designed to look at the future continuously. We might look at it occasionally in our own lives because we hear about something new. And in organizations, we might go on a retreat once a year or have a report once a year about the big forces of change. But what we really need to do is to develop organizations where the people are really comfortable emotionally with dealing with what's coming. And that's because they have a clear sense of what they want for themselves, what they want for their personal lives, professional lives, and what they want to do organizationally. So when change comes, we can make decisions about, well, do I want to be in this organization that's going in this direction? Or should I be doing something else? Because the worst thing that happens is I decide I don't want to be there, but I stay there. I keep collecting my salary, but I become a real barrier to change. I become a blocker. And leadership spend way more time on me than they do on the best performers. So helping people get clear on their personal why is so important. And we're talking more and more about this as futurists. The second thing is to develop the leadership capabilities that mean we have a continuous way of managing that is looking at the future. And that means getting in the habit of continuous learning, whether it's daily information, regularly taking courses, listening to podcasts, all of those things, to make sure we've built that into our personal operating system. The second is having good approaches to innovation where we share an approach, whether it's how we specify a project, how we facilitate meetings, how we engage the user. We've got common approaches so we can speed things up because everyone's talking the same innovation language. The next is about foresight. So we make sure that whenever we're doing something, we're creating a new strategy, developing a new product, we're surfacing our assumptions about the future that are driving our decision making, but we're also looking outside at what might be changing and how that might influence what we're trying to do. And the final piece is to do that transformational thinking that says, what if we were starting again? How would we do this? How would we run this process? How would we do this product? And starts to allow us to ask really challenging questions of saying, what if we were new to this industry and we wanted to disrupt? How would we do things? How would we harness this technology to do things in a totally different way? And so we've seen that throughout history. Google disrupted LexisNexis as an information provider. Apple disrupted Microsoft. Apple disrupted the old mobile phone companies like Nokia. Uber disrupted taxi companies because people have come in with a whole new way of thinking. And we need to get that kind of transformational thinking into the heads of all our leaders so we're constantly looking at what we do in that way rather than celebrating things being fixed like a piece of stone.
Sir, you are like a pool of knowledge, and we literally can't extract a lot in this limited time. So thank you very much for giving time to us, and we were literally not expecting that you will come in this podcast. Thank you very much for this, sir.
No, my pleasure. Please let me know when it's published.
Okay,
Okay, sir, sure.
Yes, sir.
We are grateful
Thanks.
of having you with us. Thank you very much, sir.
Really, thank
My
you, sir.
pleasure. Good luck with your careers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.